It's time once again to turn back the clock and take a look at Swindon from a time gone by. More Swindon Through the Years, comparing the images from the past with those of a modern Swindon. And this time we're turning back the clock to the 1990s. It was boom time for Swindon, expansion, conversion and improvements, all captured by the Swindon cable cameras for the weekly news programme This is Swindon. We now look back at some of those images, capturing a town in transition, frozen in time, in more Swindon Through the Years. Delving into the Swindon Cable Archive, we're turning back the clock to 1994. Another look at Swindon through the years. We are now in Greenbridge Road and a 2017 view looking at the head office of W.H. Smith, a site currently subject to huge changes. But our location for these clips is further down the road in the opposite direction. Here's a modern view, and you can just make out that at one time it was home to the business Grime to Shine. It's a small factory and office type building from the 1960s. So let's turn back the clock 26 years to 1994 to chart the passing of time. At this time the building was empty, up for let, having previously been home to Dillaway Swindon Limited. The building wasn't empty for long. Later in the year we see the same building with a new lease of life as a gym. A total change of use and a new lease of life for this industrial building. Like many small industrial units around the town, the original occupants move on looking for larger premises, or in today's competitive world, fall by the wayside, just leaving the staff with memories, a reflection of the constantly changing commercial world. It makes for an interesting comparison. The modern view shows the building's been given a complete makeover. The original zigzag style entrance has been covered over, windows and doors replaced, and the building covered in modern cladding. So in the space of a quarter of a century, we witnessed 3 different companies that have used the same building here in Greenbridge Road. Here's a modern view of the M4 motorway near Wootton Bassett at Hook. Nothing surprising, a familiar view that we all take for granted as we drive east and west from Swindon. The road to Hook at this point passes over the motorway. But back in 1993, this location was in the news. The reason being it was being discussed as a possible location for an additional service station on the M4. It had originally been planned that services on the M4 would be built at roughly 15-mile intervals. Our modern views show that those plans didn't come to fruition. Today there are still no services in the gap where they were once planned. Back in 1993 it was Roadchef that were planning to build on this site. An interesting thought that the list of services when heading west could have read Membury, Hook and Lee Delamere. But it wasn't to be. The land was never developed and until this day remains much the same as it did in the early 1990s. The motorway is busier than ever, and our modern view shows that cars and lorries are also much bigger than they ever were. In the distance, the Murray John Tower, our focal point as we turn back the clock to 1993 and Swindon's changing landscape. Aspen House to the right of the picture has been demolished, although would be hidden by the trees in our modern view. Of course, across the years, the M4 motorway hasn't changed a bit, still a major artery and as important as ever. Many large towns are known for their local breweries, and in Swindon, it's Arkell's. Here are our modern views of the Arkell brewery at Kingsdown. It was farmer John Arkell who grew barley on his farm that turned his hand to brewing beer. In 1861, a new steam brewery was built behind the original Kingsdown Inn at Upper Stratton. By 1867, the business had even outgrown the new brewery, and John was forced to convert the old Kingsdown pub into offices and build a new pub across the road. Today, the brewery is still in use, the well-known beer a favourite tipple across the country. Let's turn back the clock as we visit the brewery back in 1994. This is the brewery's own in-house pub, serving up a pint of Peter's Porter. The connection with Swindon's railway history ever present. John Arkell died in 1881, mourned by the locals who always knew him as Honest John. Our outside views show that little has changed in over a quarter of a century. Arkell's remains the prominent local brewery and is a popular drink with locals. The brewery operates some of the town's most popular pubs. It still operates as a family business. The brewery set up by John Arkell all those years ago. The Arkell's brewery remains independent, and brewing is still carried out the traditional way with the original steam-powered equipment still in use. Our 1994 view of the offices shows the flag flying high. The same view today, and the flag still flying a quarter of a century later. The main steam brewery building still in use today. Little has changed with the passing of time. The beer barrels are firmly stamped with the Arkell's name. In every sense, this is a traditional family business that continues to thrive and stand the test of time. Once again, we see the biggest changes are the modern signs replacing earlier ones. The business still uses the same offices and brews its beer on the same site established all those years ago. Given the longevity of the local business, it's not surprising that very little has changed over the last 26 years. And for those that enjoy a pint of Arkell's, raise your glass, long may it continue, from the Steam Brewery at Stratton St Margaret. We'll have more Swindon Through the Years coming soon, but in the meantime, please do remember, like, comment and share. We'd like to hear your memories of a changing town. And look out, more Swindon Through the Years coming soon.